Welcome in. This is your odds checker betting preview for this week's Farmers Insurance Open. I'm Rick Gehman. That right there, Geoff Fienberg. And Jeff, here we go. Quick turnaround. This event starts on Wednesday. It's going to run through Saturday because that little sport they call football, something the PGA Tour does not want to go up against.
I swear this was Jim Nance's idea because he didn't want to miss calling Torrey Pines and sure as hell wasn't going to give up his AFC championship duty. So yeah, I think that's the brainchild of Nance. He's probably been lobbying them to do it for years. If you know how slowly things actually happen from, concept idea to actually, putting it into play. But hey, I like it. It's going to throw me off big time. Like you are going to think Thursday night, my whole body is going to think it's Friday night. Like, let's have some drinks. It's, relaxing time. My whole equilibrium is going to be thrown off this tournament. That's okay.
It's going to be strange. At least it's a familiar place. We go to Torrey Pines. We get it every single year. We actually went there twice last year because it hosted the U.S. Open. So this is one that we are at least familiar with. It won't be completely crazy because you're right. Our body clocks are going to be a bit off.
Yeah, and that's just, we're the weird ones. We're the weird ones that just do golf for 40 straight weeks, and it's so regimented and pretty much when it starts that people almost get off kilt when once we start the East Coast swing, anytime we tee off up, past 7 a.m. essentially.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Let's dive into this. Let's pull up the odds checker grid. No surprise to see Jon Rahm as your favorite. Best numbers available, 7.5 to 1. FanDuel, BetMGM, Bet365, amongst other places. Justin Thomas, 13 to 1. Xander Schauffele, 17 to 1. Jeff, those are the only three golfers shorter than 20. Is there a bet to be made, or are you holding on to your bullets?
I love this. I love boards like this. I love events like this. But guess what? Haven't made the bet yet. But I'm contemplating Xander Schauffele, 17 to 1, seen some 18s offshore using the grid. No, hey, offshore's offering better than what's on market. Anyhow, Rick, people like me can walk and electrocute themselves so people like you and the viewers can fly who don't bet Xander Schauffele and wonder why people are. And there's guys like Brooks and Spieth at 40 to 1 and preeminent winners even behind them on the next part of the board. I'm very tempted, Rick. Very tempted.
Well, we appreciate you for being the one to fire on Xander Schauffele. I am at least more optimistic now than I've ever been. He kind of exercised some Torrey Pines demons, but it's really just the names lurking behind that I'm more excited about. It's not that I'm not excited about Xander.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, who do I like under 20 to 1? It would be the guy that never wins, the closest to 20. I'm not really into Justin Thomas. If I need putt luck, I'd rather get a guy at 40, 50, 80 to 1 if I need putt luck to win tournaments right now.
All right, well, if we go into the 20s, Hideki Matsuyama's at 21, Bryson DeChambeau, Daniel Berger, Dustin Johnson, all at 22 to 1. And then I can get you a Sam Burns 25 to 1, which is something you'll want to shop because DraftKings has him at 20. BetMGM has him at 25 to 1 if you're looking at the grid. This seems to be where most people are probably starting. Jeff, you mentioned there's a couple of big names here that if you're willing to take on a little bit of risk, you can get a pretty good number on.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a lot of people, my eyes go instantly to Bryson at 22 to 1, Dustin at 22 to 1. You wonder every week, we try to figure out who's that forgotten elite player that no one's paying attention to. Not quite sure who that's going to be. It's too early. It's a short week and it's early to know who that is. But who's the player that the books don't want us to bet? And you get the sense that's Daniel Berger. But my eyes and attention are on Bryson as part of this group.
Yeah, Bryson, the ability to just kind of club head speed this place to death with that Kikuyu rough is kind of exciting. His around the green play concerns me. Dustin Johnson, I don't think people realize for the last 50 rounds, he's basically the same putter as John Rahm, which is kind of crazy. And he's got, if he can get back to anything close to his form from 6 months ago in terms of ball striking, there's a lot to be had there. I think Sam Burns is probably the flavor of the week. Is that right, Geoff? Everybody seems to be wanting to get a Burns ticket.
Yeah, I'm not. Okay, how do I put this? It's just like we talked about in the lead up. I'm looking forward to 2022 and seeing Sam Burns' name beside these other names. And not that I don't like Sam Burns this week. It just makes it so much harder for me as someone who is, I'm not on the fence as to how good Sam Burns is. It's more level of how good he is. And I talk to you each week, and there's other people who I talk to who really are deep into this stuff. And even from a data perspective, they're like, no, Sam Burns is the truth, and his name belongs on these odds boards at these parts. I still need my arm twisted. Like if I'm gonna bet, Sam Burns at 22 and I can bet Bryson or Dustin at 22. I'm not quite there yet, but he was, I think he went off in the final group here last year, and that kind of catapulted an amazing year for him. Any concerns with Dustin first event of the year? This is a straight narrative thing here because I don't know. Dustin didn't call me. None of his friends are my friends. How much golf does he play in the lead up? Does it matter? He could not pick up clubs for months and be dominant. But I do worry at a field this strong and a course this that has these sorts of teeth. It's not ideal right now to bet a guy with 0 rounds under his belt.
I think I'm with you. I doubt he's played much golf. I don't think he necessarily has to, but I'm going to be early on Dustin Johnson. I'm not sure it's in this moment in this field, but it's going to be very, very soon is the way I feel about it.
He just strikes me as a guy, and I can even listen, it's easy to say a guy won't win an event. We're talking outright winner here. But even, Bryson in Hawaii, who I'm looking excited about potentially betting this week. Dustin just strikes me as a guy that engine's going to have to rev at least like one time, I feel, before we get a win. And then, as we know, when Dustin wins, it's like, watch out, world, because he piggybacks them.
Yeah, it'll be scary stuff. All right, how about some names a little bit longer? Scotty Scheffler, Tony Finau, they're 30-1. Sung Jae Im, Will Zalatoris, 32 and 33, respectively. Brooks Koepka, 36-1. Mark Leishman won this event 2 years ago. You can get him at 25-1 or you can get him at 37-1. So I imagine you should shop that number. And then Jordan Spieth sits at 40-1. As you were alluding to a bit earlier, Geoff, those are very enticing numbers. 36 for Brooks, 40 for Spieth. Maybe there's someone else in this range that has caught your attention.
Okay, so I have bet, Jordan and Spieth, they're here. I almost joked. Well, I didn't almost joke. It's not even a joke. I kind of made the comment earlier today. You could just bet Brooks and Spieth and one of Bryson and DJ, and that's just such a safe card. Or you could be crazy like me and consider Xander Schauffele and already have your 30-1 bet in on Tony Finau.
I was going to say, you might as well just take Tony while you're at it.
Can't ignore the Torrey Pines history. I'll even piggyback that his Riviera history, I think, is relevant on a course like this, as demanding as this one is. As we even, I think, spoke about last week, had no interest in him in a birdie race, but the type of course where just long and penal and narrow and exacting, that's where I want my money on Tony Finau. And hey, sometimes it's rare, but when you have sick kids, there can be advantages. That's being up early, seeing the odds come out as they come out, and getting a 40-1 on Will Zalatoris. So while people can bet Brooks and Spieth and guys that have mountains of trophies, I'm here betting little to no trophy collections, Rick.
All right. Well, I couldn't get to Xander yet, but I'm with you on Tony, 30-1. This is a place where the driver can kind of separate him from the rest of the field. And if he does putt like he has in the past, that's him solving the math problem. And I also got to Brooks at 36-1. Actually, I think I got him at 40. I got a little bit of a better number there. But those are really the only two bets that I have in, Geoff. And I don't mind Zalatoris. What we saw from him last week was a great ball striking week. I wonder how he does on these Poana greens around the South Course at Torrey Pines. So we'll see how the week goes on. But Patrick Reed, our defending champion, and Corey Connors lead off the 50s. They couldn't be more different. They are polar opposites in terms of skill set. And I also can give you Taylor Gooch at 55-1. I can give you Matthew Wolff at 66, or I can give you any other name here that might interest you.
Yeah, so all interesting names. Reed, as I think we've discussed last week, always brings that win equity to the table. He doesn't need form. Like, I don't need a recent T20, but anytime you sort of deep dive him, you're just seeing bright red in some important categories, brighter red than he's ever come out and won from. You know, the form's not always great or consistent, but it's not as missing as it is at the moment. So I'll have to miss it. And if he wins without me, I'll just have to be happy for the guy. Other tempting options here, I'd even go a little farther back. For me, it's flirting in that 70-1. I had to deep dive it, and it's a number you shop on the grid. McNeely, there's 45-1s at DraftKings, but there's 70-1s at FanDuel and other sites. A guy I had a perception of that, you know, Pebble Beach, Heritage, these small green, shorter courses, but no, it looks like he is peaking in some of these longer iron categories. We know how consistent he can be with the full game off the tee. So I'm sneakily on McNeely, and the things I said about DJ, and we haven't seen him yet, are concerning, but I'm so tempted to be part of Joakim Niemann. Every time I want to bet Niemann, I make the full sell on how far he hits it, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that, but he has that total profile of a guy I like to bet at PGA championships, losing bets, US Opens, but he has that profile that fits these long, penal, exacting courses. I wish he had a run in him, but 80-1 isn't 20-1. So in this part of the board, that's who has my attention at the moment.
It is definitely worth shopping all of these. As Geoff noted, McNeely, some places 45, FanDuel 70, Max Homa 55 at FanDuel, 70 at DraftKings. That number on Joakim Niemann, 80 at DraftKings, 66-1 at some other places. Where do we draw the line, Geoff? Where is the real win equity stopping? Because I feel like we're at least close, and we might have gone past it.
You look at the past winners here. There's an outlier in Scott Stallings, but everything else here is class. Even the Patrick Reed, while he didn't profile here with how sort of everywhere he can be, we know he represents that magic element that can happen. And, you know, we had fun with some controversy that week, but sometimes we need a little of that. And recalling even the Mark Leishman win, Rick, the guy was just like, you have to bet a guy who on Sunday you believe is going to go blackout good from that 8 to like 14-foot putt range.
He made everything. Yeah.
Everything. Like all day. And that's what you need to ask yourself. Can he do it? I love Luke List. Can he do that on a Sunday? The metrics are popping. We're doing great things. I'm a truther, but does he have that in him? Because that would be a huge, you know, breakthrough outside of majors and ignoring WGCs. I don't know, Memorial, and then this is maybe one of like Memorial, Arnold Palmer, and this are on a small handful of tournaments that matter to these guys, or they're prestigious or could be considered breakthroughs in some respects.
The reasons that you listed about Luke List kind of kept me off Keegan Bradley as well, which is just like, can he make enough putts on Sunday to win this golf tournament? So that's my concern there. So I will probably build, Geoff, a very tight, heavy win equity card in that like 30 to 50, and I probably won't go further than that.
Yeah, that's probably not wrong. History has shown, you're like the elites and the second tier, they've been kind, and Leishman and Reed, as we've mentioned. That next tier has been kind, and it's a perfect event. I like building these cards sort of in that 25, 50 to 1 range, 4 or 5 guys. And this seems like the perfect event for that. And John Rahm could break all our hearts, and I'll say that every time as we close.
And he will, like 3 times this year. 3 times this year, he'll break our hearts. It's like when you're at the roulette table and they spin a 0 and they just wipe the board clean and they get everybody. That, like, John Rahm's going to do that 3 times to us this year.
Okay, yeah, that's fair, and we've got to just accept it and move on.
Yeah, we'll live to fight another day. Get your bets in. Wednesday start. Wednesday morning, this thing's kicking off. Get your bets in. Geoff Fienberg, you can find him on Twitter at GFienberg17. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been your odds checker betting preview for this week's Farmers Insurance Open. Good luck.